So the swatching, okay, it can be kind of a nerdy thing to do, swatching, but it's also really helpful in your watercolors in general. And so I wanted to show you the supplies or what you need really to make swatches. You just need some watercolor paper. If you don't have a template, that's okay. You don't need it necessarily. If you would just want your paper and a pencil, if you have a pencil, like a little, not a lightweight, like I have a drafting pencil here. And if you have a little ruler, you can do it that way. We could just do it with a ruler, and I'm going to show you that way. And then I'm going to show you how I do it with the template just to make it easier, because I like to cut out all my cards. So basically these are traced onto watercolor paper. So I'll explain how I do that in a moment, but let's just do one without, we're going to do one without the paper. I mean, without the template. So you'll know that I sent everybody a template. I'm sorry if everybody didn't get one, but we will make sure if you want one, you can get it. This is just a template to make it easier. If you had a copier that you can just print it out, and you can do these swatching on like heavier weight paper than what I have just copy weight, and it's a little thin. But basically, it's a very customizable template with a lot of functions, and that's why I put it together. I hadn't seen anyone like this, so it's more customizable than most of them. And you can add as little or as many details as you want with this. So I'm going to give you the key of what these are. These little areas, so you basically have all these little grids here. And this could be for the color name and the brand if you want, or if you just want to do color name and brand on the side here, up to you. But this is where I would put, just write the information. And this is how I do it ahead of time. I'm just going to show you that, like for my swatching today, I've already written the color in. I've even gotten color numbers. That's for color nerds. If you're a color nerd like me, and you want to know, and if you have the information, if you don't have that information, because sometimes we all throw away our charts, but after we buy our watercolors, I have many palettes that don't have, I don't know the color information or the color pigment numbers. But if you have that and you want to put it in this little space here, that's a place to put it. Then we have a place for mass tone, like just a straight wash of the color. And then we have a place to see how opaque or transparent it is right here. This can be a place for lifting qualities, like is it staining or does it lift? This is a place to do a gradient, like a graduated wash, a little gradient shading to see how it, how it graduates from dark to light. And this last one I use for spreading. It's see how the color spreads, or how it migrates away from how if the water creates a spread for it. That's how I use it. But if, like, let's say you don't care about certain qualities, you can always use these boxes for any quality that you want, like granulation. Do you want to know if it granulates? Do you want to know how it glazes? You can do a second layer over. So these are sized so that you can fit them in little artist trading card. They are artist trading card size. So they fit right into these little pockets. You can make two up, like you can put two cards. If you haven't seen these, I'm going to show you where I got these off Amazon, just like recently, not very long ago. These little trading card pages, that's what they're for, baseball cards, artist trading cards. In fact, I have artist trading cards that have just been recently sent, and I'm doing a swap right now. And these are sleeves that I got for, they're a little different. I'll show you those too. These are individual sleeves. So if you wanted to have individual sleeves, you can do that too. But they're kind of handy to have in your stash, in your watercolor. Here's the sleeves that I got, the 100 sleeves. So that I'm not going to use those for this. I want to do these in the big sheet. I like these because I'm going to be able to put lots of colors, and then I can put them in a binder, and I can always access this information. So I'll show you this as these are already completed. So this one, you can see what I meant by, a mass tone, which is like the darkest color you could possibly get while mixing in water. The same idea, you can just put it over this black area. And here, this is the lifting thing. What I did was I made a wash, let it dry, and then I re-wet it and blotted it with some tissue to see if there was any lifting. This one's kind of staining because it didn't lift very much. And this one, I wet it completely with water and just dropped some color in, and I wanted to see how much it spread, and you can see the difference. And this color and this one didn't spread at all. So that's kind of important to me in watercolor for me. And I can also tell when I've done these how smooth the washes look. These are not a professional grade. They're kind of they're a decent grade watercolor. They're kind of inexpensive, so they're going to be different. So each brand you use is going to be totally different. So this is time consuming, but it's really kind of fulfilling for me to do. And I'm hoping it is for you, because, you know, getting to know your watercolors is going to be essential. And also doing these practices will increase your watercolor skills because you're going to be doing washes, you're going to be trying to get consistent colors laid down. And so it's a really good exercise for all of your colors. So let me show you how to do it. If you don't have a template, let's just go from there. So these cards are, a trading card is, oops, let me get my little ruler out. So if you have a pencil, grab that and a ruler. They're 2.5 by 3. Oh, this one's supposed to be 2.5 by 3.5 normally, but I've got these at 2.5 by 3.25. So you can make them 2.5 by 3.25. That's fine. So the way I would do it is I would take, I'm going to grab a little longer straight edge here. I'm going to make a line going across the top of my page. So this is going to be, I'm just going to make a set of, I'm just going to make one of them so you can just kind of see. But you could do several on a page. We got somebody coming in. Let's see. Where's somebody coming in? I don't see that person coming in. Well, I'm hoping that, let's see. Well, I don't know. I thought I heard a ding dong, but I don't see anybody coming in. Okay, so I'm going to measure. I'm going to use my little ruler, and it's 2.5 across, right? I think. Let me just double check. Yep, 2.5 across. So I'm going to make a straight line, 2.5 inches across. And then I'm going to make another straight line on the edge, 3.25 inches across. So I'm going to just make that line. I'm just going to try to make it as straight as possible right there with my pencil. And now I'm going to take another line, and I'm going to just, now this is where you've got to make it, if you have a ruler that helps you, make it straight, however you do it, or you can cut your cards in advance down to the 2.5 by 3.25, cut them down, and then you can make your lines inside. That would work as well. So I'm just going to make a line straight down, 3.25, and then I'm going to bring this line to meet that. And I've got my outside dimensions. Okay, and I know I'm not doing it very dark, but you can get the idea. Now I'm going to make my little lines on the inside. So I can do this by just making a little, like a straight line. I'm just going to do a straight line. This is about 3/8 of an inch wide. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm just going to do a little line across here. And then I'm going to divide that. I'm going to make a little place here. I'm just going to do a couple of lines here to divide that. And I'll show it to you when I trace it out. So I'm going to also, to make the wash lines, I'm going to make another line here. And then I'm just going to start making a grid of lines so I can create these little, and I can just block them in with my, also do it just by, I know this is a little hard to do it when you're not without a ruler, but you can create your all your little sections. And I'm just doing this rough because I do plan to use a pen to finish it. But I'm just going to do little, I need 3 equal rectangles on this side here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that the more wonky and the more natural hand-drawn it is, the more interesting it is, I think. I mean, maybe it's, here, I'm going to go like this. I'm just drawing some grids. I'm basically creating 1, 2, 3 rectangles, one long one and one short one. And now I'm going to just draw this in with my pen, a little bit heavier so you can see. So I'm going to just do this. I'm going to take my, I'm going to draw the straight line I made here, the straight line down here, and just kind of like as much as you can, go slowly. You don't have to go fast. you know, kind of make this like a fun exercise to just kind of get you in the mood. And now I'm going to take these, and in this little area here, I'm just going to make little boundaries. Basically, I'm going to make, this is for the title, for the color, and I'm going to even, this, that says that's for the color or the color name. And then I'm making a little space here for either the brand or the pigment number, whatever you want. And then I'm making the rectangle, this left mass tone area. I can make it whatever size I want, but I have the template for you if you want. But this, there's 3 little rectangles here around the same, they're about the same exact size. And then I have my long wash rectangle. I can make it as long as I want or as short as I want, but there it is, just so you can see. And the lastly is the last little, to fill in the space, I've got this. Now, where I want the opaque, where I want to test the opacity, I'm going to make a vertical line, and I'm going to color it in with a waterproof. I have a brush pen that works faster, but I want to just show you, this is kind of the thinking here. So you can make these, several of these, and then wait for that to dry a little, and then just erase the, because the pencil marks kind of, you know, aren't the best. So after this is dry, I'm just going to go ahead and erase all this, and now it looks like, it looks good. It's ready to be swatched. Okay, so that's the way to do it by hand. Okay, so if you happen to have a good light box or a light source, something that you know, a good window, or of course a window is kind of a bummer because you'd have to put your arm in the air. But if you have a light box, I love my little light box. It's a little tracing box. It's like my favorite little thing. I wish the company was still in business. They're not, but Amazon actually sells a lot of cheap ones, lots of cheap ones. So I just want to share with you. This is my little light pad, it's called, but they do have light boxes on Amazon. I saw them cheap, and I'm going to turn on the light pad, and I'm going to show you how I trace, how I cheat. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put, I'm going to just line up these. I'm going to I wonder if I have 3 places. Of course, I'm using a small piece of B paper. B is a brand that I really like. But if you have something like a larger sheet, you can trace out your whole thing. This time, I'm not going to use a pencil. I'm going to just use my pen. I've got it laid. I've got it here. And if I wanted to put a little tape, you know, you could put a little bit of tape just to, I'm not going to do it today. I'm being lazy, but you could put some little washi tape somewhere to hold it so it won't shift. But what I do when I'm tracing, I'm going to just do one of this template here, and I'm just going to take all of the lines that are vertical that I see right now that are vertical, and I'm just going to draw those down. And this makes for quick work. I mean, fairly quick. I'm just going to take all the lines that I see that are vertical. This helps to a little bit more accurate, and you're not, you know, it's easier to draw a straight line downward, than it is to go sideways or, whatever. So I just go like whatever, if it's in the same direction, I'm drawing those lines. I'm just looking at what's underneath in my little tray, in my little template. So that's why it'd be handy to have at least one image. And I'm going to keep looking for these vertical lines. I see those, and I see this one. And this really makes for much nicer tracing. And then it's just kind of fun. So I see all my vertical lines are done, right? So now I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do I'm just making those same motion with my hand. And, I see I didn't do the top. Oh yeah, I did. So here I got the top one. And this really makes for much quicker and a little bit neater tracing of your template. Like I said, though, if you don't have a light box, that's okay. You can still trace. It's hard to trace through thick paper. That's why I have the light box. So it's really handy. If you have a drawing that you want to reproduce and then do watercolor, I've done it many times. I just use my light box. So, it's a handy tool to have. So see how nice and neat that came out? And I'm going to turn off that and see how that came out really nice. And now I'll just color in this thing for the opacity. If you don't care about opacity, you can leave this part out. this little this part out and do another test, like the glazing test that I talked about. And we'll do that in a moment. We'll talk about that. So I'm ready to start swatching. Oh, and then the next thing I do to let you know, the next, so I basically want to get as many cards made as I can possibly make. Like, so now I'll just cut them out. So normal, of course, in your template, it'd be easier to cut out, but just cut around the edges using the pair of scissors, and then you're ready to swatch out. This, and it gives the ink a little bit time to dry so that you don't smear any of your watercolors. But this is how I did it. This is how I do it. I mean, there are so many ways. I think I've even seen on Etsy that people have pre-printed their watercolor papers using a template. So, but I thought, let's do it ourselves. We're going to do it, you know, with whatever tools you have. And if you don't even want to draw your swatches, that's okay too. It kind of helps to record all this stuff. So there are my little cards. They're ready to go. One's a little rougher than the other. One is more, you know, it doesn't matter. They're still going to work. So I've been working on some swatches, but I'm going to show you something. The reason I think the opacity thing is really important. So I have this set, and I haven't swatched any of this yet. It's the Daniel Smith Ultimate Mixing Set. It happens to be that I kept the chart, which comes always with like a set of watercolors. You should always have a chart, but if you lost it and you don't have it, well, that's okay. You can just do the same kind of swatching to see what's going on, and you just may not have the color number even or the brand, but that's okay. You can just say, if you wanted to identify it where it came from, you can just mention the palette that it came from or something. So in this one, I'm going to swatch out this titanium, buff titanium. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write it down, knowing I can see on my little card here that this is buff titanium. So that I'm going to write buff titanium, and it's Daniel Smith. So I'm going to put DS because I know that means Daniel Smith up here. And then I'm just going to put buff and make it in a fun, like, you know, writing or your own writing, whatever, because these are little works of art in themselves. So there it is, buff titanium. And now I'm going to, the color number or color pigment number is PW. Well, I can't even see, my eyes are just, PW 61, it looks like, I guess. I hope so. PW means pigment white. And then 6-1, I think. Oh, well, we'll see. I don't know. And it says that it's semi-transparent. So let's find out. Let's find out how it is. So I've got some fresh water. Make sure all your pans, if you have any contamination or colors that are in your pans, clean out your pan. This was a mess and I had to wipe it all out to get it clean because you want pure color. This is always really good to do. If you had a bunch of cards ahead of time made out, when you get a new set of watercolors, just, you know, you can swatch them out and you'll have your you know, pure color. There won't be any colors mixed with it. This is called the mass tone. So we're going to do a little wash, try to get as much color as you can on your brush, and then just do a swatch. This looks interesting. I've never swatched this out. Wow. It is a very dark color considering it's a titanium buff titanium. So there it is, the mass tone. I'm using a medium-sized round brush that doesn't hold too much water. It's not one of my favorite brushes to paint with, but it's a Princeton round number 8. It's going to work for, you know, for this need. Now this is the second one. I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to give the same exact, load the brush up as much as I, pretty much similar to what's here in this one, and I'm going to just repeat it here, going over the that black line, and look at how much it covers. It's covering quite a bit of it. This is a very opaque color to me. You know, it says semi-opaque, but it is pretty. It's covering pretty amazingly. Okay, so there it is. I just did another wash. Now I'm going to do the same thing, same amount of color load in this third one, and this is for the color lifting qualities. So we have to wait for this to dry before we find out what that's about. So I'll just go ahead and fill this rectangle in with that, and just kind of the same amount of color density as the previous two swatches. There we are. And I don't want it too much, I don't want too much puddling going on. It's not too, it's not dripping too much, but it's satiny. I've got some good coverage. Now this is for the graduated wash, this rectangle here. So I'm going to load my brush up and with the color right at the top. I'm going to really load it up with the same color load as I had with the first three. And I'm going to go about a third of the way down this long rectangle. Just about a third. And then I'm going to get some water in that brush, thin it out, and then bring my brush, drag my brush from the last, and just kind of drag it down to another third. Okay, and then I'm going to clean my brush out and pretty much clean it out, and then just sort of drag what's left. Any pigment that might be left, I'm just going to drag it down to almost where it's no more color. That's our graduated wash or gradated wash. I think that's the right word. Graduated is high school, but yeah, gradated, I think. All right, this one. This is a different one. This is a test to see how it spreads, if it spreads at all. So what I use is I clean my brush out completely using totally clear water, and I wet this little area. This is this little smaller rectangle. I'm wetting it to dampen it so that it's got nice shiny but not too drippy. I want to dampen the whole square just with the clear water. And then I'm going to take as much color as I can, load my brush up, and I'm just tapping it in the center. I'm not trying to spread anything. I'm just tapping that color in. And I'm going to let the water do the work, whatever is going to happen. Just let that go. So that swatching is done. That pretty buff titanium. So when this dries though, we'll do this next test. So I'm going to take this and set it aside. And I'm going to show you, I've got another set here I've been working on. I've got to get it done. I'm on my next color. Oh, I know. I'm going to show you, since this is dry, I'm going to show you what I do to do the staining quality thing. Staining quality test. So what I'm doing is this is completely dry, the Viridian color, and it didn't spread at all, I noticed. And I'm going to just do a test. I'm taking a clear brush, a wet brush, and this is completely dry, this field down here. I'm just going to go inside just this little stripe of wetness. I'm just wetting it down, and it looks like it's got a nice lifting quality. And then what I'm doing is I'm wetting it and kind of dragging it back and forth, not rubbing, but just dragging it back and forth several times. And then I'm going to take a paper towel, or you can use a tissue, and you're going to just blot it once, and you can see how staining or how much of a lifting quality you have. So this is a fairly staining, but it still has some lifting. And I'll show you the differences, what I mean. There's this color, this permanent rose did not lift. It was hard to lift. This burn umber stained, and the gamboge stained really, but everything else had a nice lift. Even the phthalo blue stained on this brand. I'm going to try a phthalo blue in a different brand and see how, and you'll see all of your colors are going to be way different anyway. So I'll put this one back in now that I've done the transparency test on that one. And so this one, I'm going to take this sap green color. It's called sap green. I've already labeled it. And I'm going to just I've got to look for it in my palette. It's right there, I think. So I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to try to get it as, kind of reconstitute as much as you can to get a good mass tone. And that I'm going to put that sap green right in this first. That's such a pretty color. I love this color. Even in different brands, you're going to compare your swatches, and you're going to see how different each brand, they call it sap green, but each brand has it's just different. It's close, but it's still different. So that's what the beauty of this exercise is, it might take a while. It might take really a long time if you have lots of watercolors, but it's very valuable because then you'll know your watercolors. So I'm going to take the second, do the same thing, just filling it in. And you can do this, just do a few at a time, don't make it an overwhelming job. Just kind of maybe set aside some time before you start a real painting, it's really good just to do some of these. And then you would have a body. Finally, you would get all of your swatches finally done. It takes time, patience and time, but it's well worth it, I think. So I'm going to do my third, exactly the same amount of pigment load here like this. I can't wait to see what colors you're all swatching, because everyone, I'm just doing kind of like going down the palettes, like whatever I have in my palette that I'm using. But if I have a brand new tube or something that I haven't put in a palette, that's a good way to kind of arrange. You can see how you want, what you want to put in one of your disposable palettes. So here I've got to do my graduation or gradated wash, starting with a heavy amount of the sap green at the top, about half to about a third down. And it doesn't have to be exactly a third, but just kind of, do that top part as dark as you can, or as saturated as you can. And then put some water in that, but you don't have to rinse it out. Just put some water in it, and that kind of dilutes it a little bit. Go another third down, and then clear your brush, kind of rinse it with water, and then drag that final bit down, just to kind of show how it blends and how it moves on the paper. And then the very last one again is this clear area right here. And I've got it pretty wet here. I'm going to see how that works. I'm trying to be scientific and have them all similar, so maybe I shouldn't have it so wet. So like if it's too wet, you can always siphon up some of that water by dabbing with you're using your brush and just kind of pulling up with the brush just some of that extra puddle, because it's not fun when a watercolor puddles and it dries funny. So we can try not to do that. So now I'm going to just tap it in the center. I'm not trying to spread it. I'm just trying to get some color on the brush, and then just drop it in the center. And then I get to see, that color's coming out. It's not spreading at all, even though I want it to, but I'm not going to push it. So there, and that's Daniel Smith. I can see the brand. Well, that's Niji. Oops, sorry. That's the Niji brand. Okay. I'm going to test that when it dries. We'll be able to see how opaque it is. So now that, just so you know, now that the titanium or buff titanium has dried, you see that it's really did dry sort of semi-opaque. So it's not as opaque as I thought it was. That means it's mixable. That means you can mix things with it, and it's not going to make too much mud. It spread kind of nice. I thought it wasn't going to, but it did once it dried. And now I'm going to test I'm going to move this out of the way so that I don't mess it up. And I'm going to test the lifting qualities. I'll make sure I have a really clean brush. And I'm going to just go on to this just drag it a few times back and forth. And then I'm going to blot it just with my towel or a tissue. Oh, that lifts nice. So you can see that it lifts nice. And it's also another good idea when you're doing these, of course, this is pretty dry now, I can turn it over, to identify, to label what kind of paper it is. So, because they're all going to act differently. So this is the B paper. I'm just doing it very lightly, so I'll remember. And maybe I'll, put a note somewhere what kind of paper it is. So there, that one is a nice little swatch. I'm going to just set that aside and let it dry. And then I want to show you, let's see which one. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to kind of go through my little sequence here. Oh, I didn't do it. There's a color in here. Okay, so I'm going to show you, I don't know what color that is. Oh, sap. Okay, got it. So I'm going to do the indigo. That's what I needed to do. So this indigo color, watch this. Wait till you see the difference between Daniel Smith and other brands. Indigo is one of those that really is different than all the brands. So this one is indigo, according to, whoa, and it's nice, it's dark. It's I love this color. It makes a very nice sort of wet, like rainy skies, very atmospheric. I love it. It also is great for making shadows and for like adding you can add some purple to it to make it like a purpley shadow. It's just a beautiful color. It's got a lot of black in it. Instead of straight black, I never like to paint I don't use black in my watercolors. I just don't. I'd rather create a dense black looking color with my watercolors than actually use black, because black is really sort of severe. It's it sort of cuts out all the light that's in your paper. You basically, you lose so much of that luminosity. So I avoid black, and I just go with dark kind of washes or dark colors to create an illusion of black, but I avoid black altogether in my watercolors. I don't know. Well, I don't know where I got that, actually, come to think of it. I have no idea. So I'm sure it was somebody in the world, because I certainly did not learn in a cave. I have many, people I've been inspired by and classes I've taken over the years and in college. And I might have been an artist. I'm kind of thinking about this. Two people that influenced my watercolor passion, actually, many years ago. One was a man named Tony Askew, Anthony Askew. He was the instructor at Westmont College in Santa Barbara. He was the art teacher there, and he was an amazing man who encouraged so many people. There's another artist who took his classes at the same time through adult education in Santa Barbara. And one of them, if you know who he is, Robert Burridge, he was in my class, in Tony's class when he first started painting. And so he inspired many artists, Tony Askew. The other one is Ted Villa, another artist who did watercolor. He inspired and influenced my watercolor passion. I just wanted to mention those people because I don't know why. I hope they're doing well. I haven't even gotten in touch with them, and I haven't since, that was in the 70s and 80s. So, but it's just nice to kind of recognize. I mean, I just have to recognize those people. And then the people that I read books like Nita, I believe her name was Nita Marland, I believe. Just different people that have really influenced and inspired. So I'm going to check this one out. Here we go. I'm just going to tap and watch that spread a little bit. That's fun. You can see how the wash here, this puddling, and it went back up. That's I'm trying to control this, but watercolor is sometimes really hard to control. So you just have to know what that color does, so you can have better control, or at least know its personality, so you can do with what you want. So there's that's the indigo, and then I'm going to do Payne's gray, the last color, just to show you. This is my black, just to kind of share with you the black in my mixing. This I would consider my black. See, the Payne's gray is very neutrally, kind of a cool gray, but in different brands, this almost looks black to me. I certainly, even though it's a translucent black, it's certainly not the Payne's gray that I would know in Winsor Newton or I'm sorry, Daniel Smith or Core or M. Graham or M. Holbein. And this is actually much more neutral, and I like it because but it's kind of misleading that I'm calling it Payne's gray. But maybe to wash down is a more Payne's gray color once I dilute it more. So I can't really make a judgment until we finished our swatching. And that's what's so lovely about doing this, just kind of playing with your colors. And once I finish this little card, I'm going to do another blot test if it's dry, and then we're going to open it up and see how everybody's doing. So, and would like, hopefully that you're able to make some swatch cards today, and then certainly have the tools to make lots and lots of swatch cards going forward, and getting out your watercolors and working with them, playing with them. And then if you find you just don't like a color, there's a color you just don't like in your palette, you're really never going to use it. Well, this is a great time to find that out and eliminate it, pull it out of the palette. Like these little half pans, those come out. So like I can say, I mean, all these colors I really like, so I'm not going to take any out. But if, there's a color in one of my pre-bought palettes, and if I'm not really that fond of it, I'm going to just switch it out and then take out put something in there that I like. And that's another thing. I take a lot of palettes that are they're pre-chosen, the color palettes. Here I'm just doing the glazing. You can see, just going to bring it all the way down, not glazing, the wash, gradated wash. Let's take those palettes and make a custom one for yourself that makes you, for your favorite colors of all time, just make it, that's what you want it to be, fun. So take out those yucky colors that you don't really like, or the ones that you never ever use. Make room for a color that you love. And this is the way to know for sure. So I'm tapping doing the last test here, just tapping the color in, and I'm gonna let it do its thing. So there's the Payne's gray. Now I can see how it works. And then let's see if there's a little dried area. No, that's not dry. Oh, well, I don't have time, but I showed you that. But it's showing that's a little, I'm going to look can't tell on the chart, but these colors. So now once they're all done, once these are done, I'll put them in the little card sleeves, and I can keep working then I can start working on my next palette. So I've got 12 colors. This palette is now finished of swatching. I can call that a day on those. We've got there's 9 colors here, 10, 11, 12. So that's a 12 color. Now that took me, so you'll know the time frame wise, for me to trace out the cards and to create it took me, I was up pretty early. I'd say a couple hours for all of this. So just so you know that for 12 colors to trace out the cards and to create this thing, it's about maybe a little less, but that's kind of the time frame. So it's not a quick and easy thing, but they're very rewarding. What you could do too, let's say you have a bunch of these and you want to put them in a little sleeve, like these little sleeves. You can put them in a little small little card holder, like a little index, not index card, but I believe that there are, they do make little boxes, or we can even try to do one out of origami. That'd be fun. But something that can hold these so you have access to them easily. If you don't want to do the binder thing, something to make it really easy for you. So there is our swatching thing. And let's just see how everybody's doing. I'll stop the recording.